But we move on to the next one. We have a review coming out with Lee from the Drum Dums channel where we broke down a lot of the stuff dealing with horror in 2024. But I know Zach had a couple more thoughts on Longlegs, the newest one from Osgood Perkins.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting because as we sort of talk about in our upcoming discussion with Lee, this is a film that came into the weekend with a whole lot of hype. It had probably the most effective marketing campaign I think we can say of any movie this year, just in terms of the way that it was able to drive interest in a way that outpaced what is usually expected for movies like this.
A24 at A24. They played them in their own game.
The most successful opening weekend that Neon's ever had. And
Wow.
then what?
Oh, wow.
And then what it delivered was a movie that's less in the mold of your slashers or even of your big time monster movies, and kind of a little bit more in the mold of something like David Fincher's Seven or even Zodiac. These
Silence of the
kind
Lambs.
of Silence of the Lambs. Even maybe Prisoners is more of an allegory, even though
The
there's
Ring.
maybe more of a darkness to Longlegs than that. But these are, these really unsettling, ominous, foreboding films that I think do a really good job of getting under your skin. It was an interesting experience to me because there is this constant bait and switch element to the film. Like you start out with these sort of Zodiac elements to it, and an crime investigation piece, and then it sort of molds itself into something different. And each time that you kind of think where the movie is, sort of what the movie's about, where the movie's going, it sort of eliminates that as a possible outcome. And I found myself being really disturbed, but a little bit not in suspense. And I'm curious what your experience of the movie was like, given all the hype that led into it, all the anticipation around it, and then the way that the movie actually plays out. How'd you feel about that element of Longlegs?
What do you mean? You in suspense as in you weren't as intrigued, or is it you found it intriguing, you just didn't find it scary?
I found, it's interesting because I found it intriguing, but maybe a little bit gingerly paced, a little bit withholding in elements. I kind of wanted to get to the meat of it a little bit quicker because it kept kind of throwing out some ideas and then kind of mixing it up and going in a different direction. For a while it's the hunt for Longlegs, and without getting too deep into spoilers, I think you're expecting them to spend a lot of time on certain elements of the story, and instead it just jumps forward a little bit. I found myself questioning a couple times in the movie, questioning what's the thing we're waiting for, what's the shoe to drop, rather than wondering about a specific unanswered question, if that makes any sense without, I guess, getting too specific.
Yeah, I've had a bit going on about this movie in where I feel that the people who really enjoy it, there's a slew of people who don't know what they like about it.
Mm-hmm.
And, there are elements in the movie that deal with certain aspects of evil that I think were cleverly put into the movie technically. So the way it's shot, impeccable. I think the acting is really good. It's the story and its direction, the pacing of it that we're trying to discuss, where people are split.
Right.
Is it a good movie or is it not? Because incredible marketing campaign, only for people to kind of be divided on it, I would say, because of the way it was marketed. A big part of the marketing is you don't know who Longlegs is or what their purpose is.
Mm-hmm.
Once that's over, though, what's going to be the lasting factor of the movie, right?
Right.
So I think that's the big thing that people have a push and pull with. To me, I compare it very much to another movie. I'm looking at this right here. I'm looking at this right here, and I'm sorry, I'm seeing this. It is bar for
Longlegs and
bar the
Barbarian,
exact same type of movie. Between
Very similar
Barbarian,
posters.
and Longlegs, you have the exact same type of colors. You have this idea of a visit that turns into something more. You have these, bringing up to the basement. But even more than that, I think you and I watch enough movies to be like, oh, I could see what recipe this is. He made a movie, Osgood Perkins, the same way that the director of Barbarian did, Zach Kreger. They thought of an idea, and then they just freestyled. And that's why you feel what you feel. People loved Barbarian, I think, for the same reason some people like Longlegs. You don't know where the next twist is going to be because neither did the writer. There's this like theme that he has with it about family because of the mother character in here.
Right.
But you can tell that a lot of what he did was, Seven. And he's on record saying this. Seven, so I'm bringing you in thinking that it's Seven, thinking that it's, what did you say, Zodiac. He didn't care about any of the ciphers. Half the ciphers from the movie are not even the ciphers that they did for the incredible marketing.
And it's the things like that where it's like, oh, this is a movie about getting to the bottom of the ciphers. Actually, no, the ciphers aren't really important. Oh,
Yeah,
this is a movie about finding Longlegs. Actually, it's not really about finding. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's almost like it's playing off of a bunch of horror movies that you know and going, they already did the work for me. So he's kind of like using your biases against you, the cliches, the stereotypes that you think from these movies. And that's where it makes it unsettling because you're like, we're about to do... No, we're not. He does so many annoying things where he'll put her, right? Like next to a window when someone just shot from the house. And you're like, why would you be next to the window? I believe he's trolling you with this movie through and through. I think it's a horror movie about other horror movies coming from the guy, is, the deeper you dig into it, who is the son of Norman Bates himself, whose father was also Osgood Perkins. And it turns out that this guy's been in a family of horror people. And I think he's almost having a discussion with horror fans in it.
Yeah.
About what they can find and what they look for. This is where you expect it to go. No, we're going to go this way. And I think it's pissed some people off, but it's also, I think, what's going to give it a lot of long legs because people will be able to get whatever they want from it.
And that's an interesting point to arrive at because while there are elements of the film that, I don't know, maybe are not as strong as other elements of the film or maybe elements of the marketing, when you bring in those thematic elements and what it is sort of trying to say about like family and the lengths that we go to and it just the way that resonates with Osgood's experience.
Yeah.
Really thoughtful, interesting stuff, and that deepens my appreciation for it. But it is,
what the hell?
Is a pretty...
but the plot though, right? It's like, wait a minute, what about the plot?
Yeah, it's a really interesting, situation or like complex. I don't know, because there's so much about it that it is commendable, and so much about it that I think leaves a little bit to be desired. But it is undoubtedly like one of the most curious things that we've gotten this year.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes from the idea that you got someone who's got a lot of notoriety in the business, right?
Yeah,
he's to a degree a nepo baby. Not that I'm taking that away from it or anything. It's just knowing the perspective that he has that allows him to be able to make a movie like this. I don't know if you've ever heard Oz talk. He does not give a damn about anything.
Yeah.
Hearing the interviews for this has been one of the most enlightening things of someone just telling you how a project is made because he showcases all of the ingredients. This man cast Nicolas Cage and did not expect him to do that voice. Right? I think the beauty of this is that people, when they like a movie, defend everything, including the making of, that they don't know anything about. This isn't to detract from it, but I found it fascinating for him to admit he did not think he was going to go that route. So now you have a very serious movie with a hidden aspect from the marketing that is Nick Cage's performance that even he said, crap, we ruined the movie. He has thanked his editor so much because all of the things that you find a problem with are actual inconsistencies in the movie. He said the entire ending wasn't even written when they started the movie. So if you have questions about some of the detectives not being precautious before they get there, it's because it wasn't ready. When you get to the ending, he admitted half of it is ADR because they messed up in how they filmed it, and that's why it leaves some questions. Oh, right. So like when you realize like, there was some filmmaking errors along the way. That ends up being the response to a lot of the criticisms or confusion, but it would require you to admit, it's a movie that has some mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But there's an element to this film that deals with evil that allows you to sprinkle that in and be like, or was it a mistake? And maybe it was the work of something else. And that's the funniest part to me, is the people who are adding elements that are not there in the movie at all.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting... To me, it's the epitome of marketing, how you could take something that could have been an entire mess and they were able to sell it in a certain way that people got attached to it. All of the ciphers that people have done outside of it, that was all done in post. Like, that was all extra stuff that let people be more excited about the movie when, as you said, the movie doesn't really care about the codes. The movie doesn't really care about how she's figuring it out. She kind of just does. It's for a bigger therapeutic thing that she's going through in the film, that he's doing through the film as well about his father.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to ask you this when we were talking to our buddy Lee from Drum Dums, but is this, to you, the horror movie of the year? Is it still First Omen for you? I think that was the one that stood out earlier to you.
I like First Omen a lot. Right now it's Oddity, which is going to be my pick for the week. That is a nice little independent film.
That.
So I'm putting that up there. If we're counting the TV Glow, I'm putting that up there. Yes, I was a pretty big fan of, which one did you just mention right now? There's one that goes with that too. First Omen, and that goes with Immaculate.
Immaculate?
Yeah, those two were like really good back to back. It's a good double feature there. Stop motion.
Right.
I've been mentioning a lot. I don't think you've caught that one yet. Red Rooms was the last one I caught before our recording. And sprinkle in one of your favorites of the year, the one that turned you into a horror fan.
In a Violent Nature, yeah. The excellent one. We got a live stream question from, and super chat from Josh asking, do you think Longlegs is overrated?
After everything I said, I'm still going to say no. Because I do think there's a difference. Like, I mentioned him being a Nepo baby. But I think there's layers to that. I think we have some Nepo babies that are like, ugh. And then some others that are like, I'm very curious with all the information you know. What can you do next? So all the accidents and whatever that happened with this film, I do actually think make it more intriguing. Whereas I can see another filmmaker it being like a bastardization of what they tried to make. So I don't think it's overrated because the people who don't like it, I think will enjoy it more on rewatches. I do think there's a lot there. Just as for basic thing, I've heard people dismiss a lot, but I don't know if you've seen the marketing now. Their new marketing is the Haunting of Hill House. Did you catch the 15 ghosts, spots of the devil? So I think that even if people aren't going to love it, be head over heels like people are on another watch, I do think that they will appreciate more things about it. So I don't think it's a dud. I don't think it's a masterpiece either, though. I think there's a lot of mistakes in the movie. But the one thing that it got over story, plot, and everything is that tone. The way it's shot. And it's that eeriness that I think a lot of people grab. We've talked about this a lot, that there are horror movies where because they got a good cinematographer, people ignore the story or the direction because it looks like a movie, because it looks scary. And that can go a long way. And I think this... While it may not have the best direction and such, I do like Osgood Perkins, and I would recommend his older films because I think he's done the theme that he wants to go here. He's done it better in like Black Coat's Daughter. But he knew that he was making that jump.
It's funny to me how much the release of Longlegs has sort of boosted the profile and general like love for Black Coat's Daughter. I feel like there was a lot of people who kind of felt that movie was not that great, and upon getting a chance to revisit or thinking about it again, are really boosting it. Caitlin also revisited it and liked it more on a rewatch.
I liked it more on my rewatch too, and it's my favorite of his. I hate Hansel and Gretel.
As far as Longlegs being overrated, I think it was overhyped. I don't think it is overrated. Like the marketing did a really good job of just creating this like fervor. People being like, I love this movie, although I haven't even seen it yet. And that's probably too much.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But
overhyped and
like,
overrated.
I think it's being pretty appropriately rated.
Right? Like that's not bad. That's what it should be.
Yeah.
Let's see over here on Letterboxd. That's not overrated.
Yeah, 3.5 with most people giving it a 4.
But overhyped is what we confuse. We confuse phrases all the time, and I think that's a good distinction.
Yeah. Thank you.
Alrighty. Anything else for Longlegs?
Finally got to long. No, I think we can move on to another horror movie that we haven't had the chance to talk about yet.
No prayers you want to say or anything?
Oh, do we want to do our intercut rating? I think I'd go 3.5 on this one as well.
Like a ritual on this. Yeah, Longlegs. You going 3.5?
Should we sacrifice something to Longlegs?
Sacrifice something to Longlegs? Nah, bro. I'm gonna go there. Would you put the heart on it?
Ooh. I wouldn't go heart personally.
Really?
Yeah.
It's your horror year, and one of the biggest horror movies. You're not going hard on it?
Fuck it. Give it the heart.
There we go. Welcome to the dark side. All right.
3.5 stars and a heart for Longlegs.